Guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to work on our carburetor for our KTM 125. This will be part 2 of our carburetor rebuild video. I'll put a link right up here to the first video, so go check it out. We talk about tearing it down and all the parts and pieces and things like that, but we will go through it again today and just kind of refresh on everything. So let me show you how good these parts look. Okay, so here we pretty much have all of our parts. We've got our spring, our float, our choke. Oh geez, I can't remember what this block is called. Anyway, our screws for our bowl. We've got all of our jets, our air screw, idle adjustment, our slide, and of course the top of the carburetor. And look at the actual carburetor. Look how good this thing turned out. So huge shout out to my guy, Josh. I'll put his link to his Instagram right here, but he does vapor honing, and this carburetor turned out amazing after he vapor honed everything. So huge shout out to him. Also, I'll give you guys a sneak peek. There's the head and the cylinder, and then I also had these blasted. He did the blasting on these too so that I could go ahead and Cerakote them. So turned out freaking awesome. So we do have our new gaskets here for our metering block. That's what that's called, our metering block, and then our obviously our float bowl gasket right here too. So we're gonna put this baby back together. We're gonna go back with the original jetting that was in it. I don't know exactly what it's gonna do with the pipe and silencer that's gonna go on it, so we're just gonna go back together with it the way that it was, and we'll tune the jetting as we need to, see how it turns out. So yeah, let's hop to it. Let's get to work. Alright guys, we got our carb here. We're going to start on the actual body itself. And the first thing that I'm going to focus on doing is getting my metering block back in, which is this guy right here. So our metering block is responsible for directing our fuel from our bowl into the actual carb and through the slide and into that Venturi effect that the carburetor produces. So we have a gasket that goes right here. And this gasket can be a pain in the butt to get on because it flexes a little bit. So I'll show you what I mean right now. This is an all balls rebuild kit. This is just the gasket. It comes with new screws and an actual Torx wrench, which is nice, so you don't have to fumble around and find the right wrench for the job. Okay, so here's our little O-ring right here, and our gasket, whatever you want to call it. And it will go on the metering block just like that. Now before we put it on, whoops, like that. Before we put it on, we're going to put a little bit of grease kind of in some spots to help kind of hold it down. And that will help us install it into the bottom of our carb body. So I'm just using the regular waterproof grease that I always use on everything. And I'm using a small brush to just kind of get a little bit of grease on it and not make a giant mess. Because the last thing I want to do is run grease through my carburetor and plug everything up, because it will not be a good deal if you do that. So just a little bit here and there, just to kind of hold that baby down. Okay, so if this grease will do its job, which it is, you can see it's holding that down like it should, which is awesome. And it's holding that down. Okay, so now our gasket is nice and secure, so we can take this and insert it into the carb body like so, and we will put our new screws in. Now I'm actually going to put just a little bit of blue Loctite on these screws because more than likely this will be the last time I ever take this metering block apart on this carb. This is very interesting. I just figured something out. So here's my old metering block screws. They have Torx heads on them. The ones that actually came with it do not have Torx heads. They have Allen heads, and it came with a Torx drive. So you guys tell me what the heck that means. I have no idea. So we're going to go back with our other ones just because I have the Torx handy right here. So that's kind of interesting. I did not see that coming. All Balls is actually pretty good with their kits and how they put them all together. So I'm kind of surprised by that, to be totally honest with you. So okay, we'll go back with our old screws. Not a big deal at all. Alright, so let's insert that where it belongs. Okay, I'm just going to get this one down to where it's holding it in, and then I'm not going to go tight with it at all till I get this one to where it's holding it in. And you have to remember on these carburetors, these are totally aluminum carburetors, so they take hardly any torque to get these things tight and to get everything where it should be as far as snugged up and sealing. So just be really careful not to strip anything out on these. Okay, I'm just snugging these up really good, 1/4 turn at a time on each one, and just making sure I work back and forth, keep my O-rings nice and straight. We're about there. Yep. Alright, the next thing we're going to install is our jetting. Right here will be your main jet, and then inside there that drops deep down, that will be your idle jet. So idle jet, pilot jet, whatever you want to call it, they're kind of the same thing but not. This is our idle jet. We're going to drop it in right there, and make sure you get a screwdriver that is nice and wide, that fits in the groove perfectly, and go ahead and just bring it on down until it snugs up. Okay, now the thing with carb parts is once they're snug, that's it. Do not go any tighter than that or you're going to have a bunch of problems. So now our main jet, and I'm just going back with stock jetting right now because I don't know what the bike is going to do once I get the pipe and everything on. I mean, we're going to have some tunability with it, with the way it's set up now, and it may be enough that we don't have to change any jetting, but we'll see. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in our float needle. It goes right down in there, and let me show you how to assemble that setup. So right here we've got our float bowl. Our float bowl actually goes in with the, you can see there's a line here, or a crease where the bowl is molded together. It actually is going to go in just like so. To install our float bowl, we're just going to take it like that, and then this spring here, our float needle, you notice this spring is kind of bent a certain way. It does not matter which way the spring goes, that way or that way. It does not matter. I've fought that for years, thinking it goes a certain direction, and it does not matter. So hang that on your float bowl like so, and then, or your float. Whoops. Okay, it's a good thing that dropped because my camera angle was off. I could tell that you guys weren't able to see jack squat. So, alright, back to what we were doing. Take your needle, put it on your float like so, and then you're going to set it right where it's supposed to be. And, come on baby, go on. Okay, just like so. Just drop it in. And then we're going to take our pin, and this pin's just a floating pin. It doesn't stop left or right. And that's pretty much on every carburetor. Some of them have a pan head on one side, but most don't. And there you go. You got your float installed. Literally that simple. Okay. Now, float height. Float height adjustment is very important. This decides how much fuel is actually in your bowl. Now, I have taken the time and actually adjusted the float height on this previously, but long story short, the way that you adjust your float height is you're going to take your carburetor. KTM says to keep it at a 60-degree angle, and what that does is that gets your float where it's barely putting pressure down on the float needle, and you want it to be level with the top of the actual carb right here. So what I'm saying is this line here and here need to be perfectly parallel, and that is your float being level at a 60-degree angle. So 60 degrees is probably going to be about right there. That would be a 60-degree angle, and there you go. You can tell when I do this, the float is now it's not parallel, now it is. So that's how you adjust it. And, well, I guess to adjust it, sorry, you would just bend this tab right here up or down, and that would adjust where your float sits. So this one has been adjusted, and it works out perfectly. Okay, the next thing we're going to work on, we're actually going to put our bowl gasket on and then put our bowl on. That is all there is on the bottom or the inside of this carburetor. Just those few items. They're super simple. Two-stroke carbs are awesome simple. So not like a four-stroke or an FCR carb or anything like that. Okay, now for our float bowl gasket to fit, we're going to do the same thing that we did to our block, we're just going to put a little bit of grease down in the bottom here, just in 4 different spots, just to kind of even it out and hold the gasket in. Float pull gaskets, if you buy a really cheap Chinese brand, you're going to know it because it ain't going to fit. And I really hate that more than anything, when you go to put a float bowl gasket on and it don't fit. It is seriously the worst. So now I got a little bit much on there. Just going to clean this off on my sides a little bit, keep my vapor honing nice and purty. Okay, there we go. And make sure you orient it the right way so you don't spread it out and mess it up. Okay, now you can see the grease does a great job of just holding everything in place. So now a good gasket will fit kind of snug. You'll kind of have to stretch it just a little bit to fit where it's supposed to be, but not a lot, just a little bit. Okay, and now I'm just taking my fingers, I'm just running it around the gasket just to kind of give that a light coat of grease, because it's never going to hurt anything to have that. And grab my rag one more time, and then right here I got just a little bit of grease on the inside. I'm just going to wipe it out. Okay, so now that we got our floatable gasket on, this brass line slips right in through that opening, and this thing should go on effortlessly, just like that. Now I got to go grab my old carb lines that have my little brackets to reroute the carb lines, the vent lines, and everything like that, and then we'll put our screws in. Okay, got my parts cleaned up. Now we're going to just take these brackets and put them right in their home where they're supposed to go. Now, I'm not sure if it matters what direction these brackets actually go, but I like to put the sharp side down. That's kind of the way I've always done it. I've never actually really paid attention which way they actually go. So we're going to roll with that. And with any O-ring or gasket, you want to make sure you press it down evenly, just like we did the metering block. So let's get that nice and snug. There it is. Now we can work on all the externals. The next thing we're going to put in is our choke. Here's our choke assembly. Nothing on it, no O-rings, no nothing like that. By the way, with this PWK 39 carb, the specific one that I'm working on, there is no O-rings for any of the needles, the air screw, anything like that. There's no O-rings at all. Okay, so just go ahead and just snug this up. Just snug. You don't want to strip out these plastic chokes. Okay, our choke is in. Now we're going to put our air screw in, which goes right there, and it has a spring, and it is just inserts just like so. Now on this carb, I'm going to go with all the way in and then 1 3/4 of a turn out, and that should be pretty dang close where I need to be as far as my stock jetting goes and the correct air setting on that. So I'm going to go half turn, half, that's 1, half turn, and a 1/4 turn. That is a turn and 3/4 out. That should be pretty close to stock. Now this is our idle adjustment. It goes right up in here. Now our idle is plastic, so you can order some aftermarket ones online that will, you know, obviously not be plastic and last a little bit longer, but just take good care of these. Don't cross thread them because they're kind of a pain in the butt. So all right, now I just screwed it in a couple times. It will come out right in there somewhere, as you can see the threading, and yeah, that's how you adjust your idle. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is put our needle in our slide. This would be our needle that makes that meters our fuel with our main jet. So you'll just drop the needle down inside, and actually before I do that, let me explain this. Your needle has a clip here, a little C-clip that sits on different heights of the needle, so you can your fully closed setting can be adjusted, which then in turn affects your fully open setting too. So 2 down, 2 down from the top is stock, and that's where I'm going to go with right now. And then this is your retainer. for your needle, and this also holds your line for your throttle cable. So we're going to go ahead and put that in right now, and it is a, what is it, a 7mm, 6.5, 6. It's that odd size. So we're going to put it in, and I always hand thread these in. See, just like that. I actually got it cross-threaded. There we go. So you always want to hand start all these parts, and then just snug it up. Just snug it up, just like that. Okay, now we're going to go ahead, we're going to drop it down into our carb, our slide into our carb body itself, and it will position itself just like so. This is our spring. Our spring is what goes down inside of here and is our return for our throttle. For now, since we're not installing our fuel or our throttle line, we're just going to go ahead, put this down and thread this on top like so, and that will wrap up the basically the entire carb rebuild, other than the lines. We're going to do the lines next. Now, as for the lines, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to do it off camera. I'm going to cut all these lines to the correct length, and then we're going to install them, loop them the correct way, and get this thing looking pretty darn sick when it's all done. Alright guys, so I got looking back at my pictures and I realized both these guides for my carb lines actually go on the back side, which then funnel them back towards the back of the bike, because this one wasn't making sense over here. But anyway, so I'm just going to swap these out really quick. Alright, it only seemed fitting to throw it on the motor and see how it looks all done up. And I gotta say, this thing is sick. I am super excited on how it turned out. So Josh, you killed it on the vapor honing. I know you're watching this video. Thank you, my man, for doing such a good job. I could not be happier. I'm glad I left the top dark. It just kind of offsets the color just a little bit. But man, between these carbon reeds, the new carb rebuild, and the fresh motor, this thing is gonna sing. So super, super happy about it. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to leave a link down below to all the tools that I use, the tools, the grease, all that kind of stuff. So go check it out. And yeah, if you have any questions regarding the carb rebuild, hit me up, let me know. And we've checked another box off the list. We're getting the bike a little bit closer. I do have parts back from powder coating. I'm not going to show you quite yet. Maybe I'll give you a peek. Oh, okay. Anyway, there's your peek. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Give me a like. Thanks.